We need you.
Vote sí.
Vote yes on question 1.
I'm a Kansas Citian. I'm a guy that lives in Kansas City, have for all of my adult life. I have a company, Screenland Companies, and more specifically, I run Screenland Real Estate Services. I primarily find old buildings, many of them historic, renovate them, put them into service, lease them out, and keep them in my portfolio, and have done so for about 35 years on the commercial end. 30 years ago, I was looking for a commercial building to buy, to put my office in. I purchased my building down there, and literally I renovated 4 offices at a time and rented those offices to lawyer buddies of mine. I do have a law degree, I don't practice. You know, over the years, we grew a pretty good neighborhood of small businesses. Over the years, we struggled a little bit keeping retail tenants and restaurant tenants because, again, there were only 3,000 people living downtown. But as things grew, downtown really exploded. The Sprint Center was a big boom for the area, the Power and Light District, and even though it was a different kind of business and a different kind of model what we were doing, it was sparking a lot of growth, a lot of residential growth, and that fed the Crossroads and fed our businesses. And, you know, so really we, all of us kind of watched that neighborhood grow together, and you know, it's just been wonderful down there.
I love transforming buildings and creating neighborhoods, bringing people together, creating community. I'm a husband, I'm a father of 5, and I've lived for the most part in the Kansas City metro area since 2001. About 25 years ago, I was finishing up a project in Champaign-Urbana where we had completely transformed a highly vacant apartment complex and made it. It was a low-income apartment complex that was almost vacant that we completely renovated and brought back to life. I was finishing up that project, and I was always drawn to the energy of a city and the possibility of a city, and I've always loved historic architecture and downtowns. So after that project was wrapping up, I was exploring downtown St. Louis, and I also then began exploring downtown Kansas City. At the time, 2001, it seemed like St. Louis was a lot further ahead in the redevelopment of their downtown than Kansas City. And so when I thought about it, I almost felt like I could play a more vital role by moving to Kansas City and being a part of downtown Kansas City's redevelopment. So in 2001, that's what I did. Moved to downtown Kansas City with the purpose of being a part of the transformation of downtown. You know, there was a core group of maybe a few hundred people, a few hundred visionaries back in the early 2000s that really believed in downtown, that saw a possibility that most of Kansas City's citizens couldn't see. And those few hundred people were willing to take risks and build when the typical economic, it wasn't proven at that time to be a good investment. But fortunately, the Mayor Kay Barnes, believed in our city. The city council people saw the importance of investing in our downtown, investing in what they at that time called our living room. And they said, it's time to clean up our living room and be the center of our community. And this core group took what at that time was pretty much a vacant and desolate downtown. After 5 o'clock, I mean, the streets were just completely dead. There was almost no nightlife. I think there was maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people that actually lived in downtown. There wasn't anything to do on weekends. Over the last 20 years, we've taken that desolate downtown that really had no identity, and we transformed it into what I think is one of the top downtowns in our country, if not the world.
Over time, we watched our downtown become rather desolate, especially at night. And so originally, And continually, I think we want to watch downtown Kansas City become that heart of our city again, that central point of our city. It really is centrally located. You have a north of the river, Clay County, Platte County. South, you have Cass County, Jackson County, and Johnson County, Kansas. And so you really have an opportunity, as Kansas City has grown, to see the downtown area grow. You know, a stadium downtown contributes to those many reasons to come downtown to Kansas City. Right now it's at the Truman Sports Complex. And for 50 years, it's been a dead zone around the complex. I call it the island. People go into the sports complex, they spend their money on the county vendors. They may have some local brands, but it's all run by the county. They watch the ball game, they watch the football game, they may tailgate in the front lot out of their own car, but there's really nothing else that goes on. And if we move our ballpark downtown, all of a sudden it becomes very easy when you can look out 30 feet from the ballpark and find yourself into a local microbrewery, or you can be in a restaurant, or you can get a glass of wine. You can walk to dozens and dozens of places, and if you get on the streetcar, you can have dinner 5 miles along the way and still get to the game. After the game, if you would like, you can go get a drink. I mean, in other words, it's tied in with synergy, and in my opinion, it's much better for those dollars to be spread out among small businesses than it is just simply captured by the county. And it also stretches that entertainment day. In other words, if you have a ball game at 7, you're working downtown, you quit work at 5, you go meet friends for a drink or for dinner, and you go to the ballpark after that. I think it's a natural, and a lot of cities have found that to be the case when you don't isolate your ballpark and surround it by an ocean of parking, but surround it by small businesses. Keep it dense. Fenway, Yankee Stadium, the Cubs, they all have stadiums where people do things all around the ballpark.
I think the first objective I've heard is the potential impact to the small businesses. And I think our community cares that the small business owners are treated right, that they're compensated well, and that they're taken care of. So I think that's the number one objection I've heard. The number 2 objection I've heard is parking, that there's not enough parking in the crossroads currently, and that we need more parking in the crossroads for this stadium is the number 2 objective. Number 3, I've heard that people think that this stadium will negatively impact the Crossroads Arts District, and it'll take away from the Arts District feel of it. I actually have sat back and I've listened to the different viewpoints, and I think it's actually really good for the Royals to be able to hear all of the different viewpoints, because they do have blind spots of their own also. And if we sit back and we listen to the different viewpoints and we're open to them, we can learn from these viewpoints and actually make a better Crossroads Arts District and make a better stadium. So first of all, I think there are different viewpoints. I think those viewpoints are opportunities to be heard. Now, as far as the small businesses, I haven't run all the numbers. I think that it's probably less than 1% of the small businesses in the Crossroads that would be impacted by the stadium, where they would, in a negative way, where they would either need to be moved or bought out by the Royals. Now, I know it's the intention of the Royals and the communications that I've had with both Brooks and John Sherman, that they treat all of the small business owners respectably, and that they compensate them for relocation, they compensate them for the cost of their businesses to make sure that they're made whole, and they find new alternatives for them to relocate within the neighborhood if those small businesses want to. I've met with all of our business owners in the Crossroads, for almost all of our business owners in the Crossroads that wanted to meet, that is. And I've heard a lot of different perspectives. Many business owners in the Crossroads are excited about the Royal Stadium. I've even heard a few business owners in the Crossroads say that their business has been down since COVID, and they believe that this will be an economic boom for their business, and that this is an opportunity for them versus a downside for them. I have talked to our small business owners that are in the footprint of the Crossroads, and I think that biggest issue here is that the communication that happened. And I want to acknowledge that. I mean, in baseball, I think they call it an error. The Royals made an error when it came to communication. They didn't fully get out to the neighborhood and fully communicate before they made their decision. And that error in communication caused a lot of fear and a lot of stories to be created that are not fact-based, that are fear-based. I know that the Shermans will clean that up in the long run, but in the short run, the communication's been lacking.
Well, I want voters to vote. And yes, I would like voters to vote yes. And people ask, why do we have to support these billionaires? Well, Kansas City is a small market. Baseball is dominated by the Dodgers. They paid, their latest acquisition, $500 million. The Yankees have television revenues that outclass all of the revenues of the Royals combined. That's just the way baseball is. So if a market the size of Kansas City wishes to keep its ball team and keep them relevant, they've got to help support it. It's not like going into Los Angeles with the base of 8 million people. You're going into a city with a base of 2 million people. And I'd like them to support a downtown ballpark. I would not support this and I would not vote yes unless I genuinely believed it was good for the Crossroads. I own property in the Crossroads. I own property that's going to be directly impacted by the construction. I have tenants that I talk to every day, and I really do genuinely believe that if the Shermans will handle this correctly, and I do believe they will, we will benefit most all of the small businesses. We will increase the density of residential downtown, and all of that will, not only during game day, but all of that will lead to more business, more people circulating through these businesses more nights of the week, and help everybody. Weeknights are pretty tough for small businesses and restaurants. A lot of them live off the Friday, Saturday business. And so hopefully we can extend that to 7 days a week.
I want voters to understand the facts. There's been a lot of things said in the media, and unfortunately, I think the media thrives off of a negative perspective. And if you really care about our community, please take the time to understand the facts. We have the opportunity for us to participate in two of the largest investments in the history of Kansas City. And these investments are being made by very important families to Kansas City, families that have a history of operating with integrity, families that are very philanthropic and give back to our community. Our community generates billions of dollars in economic boom from these two teams. These are our teams. The Royals, the Chiefs, they're not the teams of the billionaires. They're the teams of Kansas City. We love these teams, and it's our opportunity to participate in their future. I mean, what better than to be able to revitalize the historic Arrowhead Stadium and make it better, that it's going to last for another 25 years and bring it up to times. And then what better than to take a huge opportunity to bring the Royals Stadium downtown, and the Royals ownership is investing $1 billion in our downtown out of their pockets to make this a transformational development that's going to cause so much economic possibilities for the for our city, our community, and the local businesses. There's huge opportunity here. I think that once you begin to look at the facts, once you think about, okay, let's look at the Shermans, let's look at John Sherman and his wife, let's look at the Hunts and see the kind of people they are. Like, have they historically done the right thing or not? Have they been good to our community? Do we believe in them? Do we love the Royals? Do we love the Chiefs? And I have to say that they're good people. And when they say they're going to do something, I believe them. I believe they've lived a life of high integrity. And I believe that track record shows that. So when people want to point them out as, billionaires that want to use tax dollars, it's just not the way I see it. I'm not saying that that's not a valid viewpoint. It's just not the way I see it. I see that they've been a huge economic driver for our city. They believed in our city. They stuck around in Kansas City. One thing I want everyone to be aware of is that out of the cities in the U.S., we are the second smallest city in the country to have 2 major league sports. So we're the second smallest in population. Another thing I want to think about here is how many cities in the country have within the last decade 3 Super Bowl wins and a World Series win? How many other cities of our size in the country got a World Series, not the World Series, the World Cup in 2026 to come to their city and got a quarterfinals? It is the Royals and the Chiefs that have helped make Kansas City a global city, a global brand. And that's what attracts big businesses and interest from around the world. I'm gonna share something else. Out of the last 18 baseball stadiums built around the country, 17 of them were built in downtowns. What does that say? I'm gonna share another fact. When the St. Louis Rams moved out of St. Louis to Los Angeles, the NFL had to settle with the city of St. Louis and gave them somewhere around $250 million because over a few year period, that was the estimated economic loss to the city of St. Louis. So I want to make sure that everyone takes time to understand the facts. Yes, 1% of businesses in the crossroads are being impacted, but there are solutions out there if we're willing to figure this out and come together as a community. And in the end, 99% of the businesses are going to come out ahead, and the other 1%, the Royals are willing to make up and cover them. So at the end of the day, this is an everybody wins game. Every time I've sat down with Brooke Sherman and John Sherman, I said, the game that we're playing is an everybody wins game. There is no winners and losers in this game. We all win. Jackson County, Kansas City, the small businesses, the fans, we all win with this plan. And that's why I'm on board.
I certainly hope we can count on a yes vote from you and everybody that might be watching today, because it's really important. It's important for downtown. It's important that we stay relevant in the baseball community, but more importantly, it is a significant investment in our downtown core. Our Kansas City, Missouri downtown has boomed for 20 years, and I'd like to see that happen for another 40.
I want you to be able to understand the facts and understand why it's important to consider voting yes for 2 of the biggest opportunities in Kansas City's history. This is our opportunity, and this is your invitation to be a part of Kansas City's future. So I hope you take the time and understand the potential of this opportunity, and I do hope you vote yes. Thank you.
We need you.
Vota sí.
Vote yes on question 1.